Royal Caribbean and the entire cruise industry has been shut down for basically a year now. So, where are all the cruise ships? I'll tell you where up next. Hey everyone, it's Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. And while there are not going to be any Royal Caribbean cruise ships operating outside of Singapore anytime soon, you might be wondering, where are the rest of the cruise ships these days? After all, Royal Caribbean shut down operations in March of 2020. So that means that, again, outside of Quantum of the Seas that restarted in December, these cruise ships have not been operating with guests on board. And for that length of time, they got to go somewhere. You can't just park them outside Miami and turn off the engines and come back to them kind of like a car that you're not going to be driving for the season. In fact, the cruise ships have been still operating and moving around the world, and it's kind of interesting to look at where they are. Royal Caribbean's cruise ships are in a state of what's known as warm layup, and they're strategically placed around the world to be close to resupply ports. This allows the ships to easily get into port to offload waste, bring on new supplies, and sometimes exchange out the skeleton crew working on board. Yes, there's a skeleton crew that is basically just the bare bones they need to keep the ship in operation. Now, during this period of no cruises, the ships primarily stay in place, but a few have changed locations from time to time. Throughout the shutdown, there have been some areas in which ships have basically been holding up at, and most recently, here's a look at where you can find most of the ships these days. First and foremost, off the coast of Miami over in Coco Key in the Bahamas, you've got a lot of ships actually. Symphony of the Seas, Harmony, Oasis, Independence, Liberty, Allure, Explorer, Navigator, and Mariner. Over in Tortola, you've got Vision and Grandeur of the Seas. St. Martin, Rhapsody, Enchantment, Brilliance, and Adventure of the Seas. Curacao is home to Freedom of the Seas. Barbados has got Serenade of the Seas. And then if you go over the pond, over in Southampton, Jewel of the Seas is located there. Anthem of the Seas is in France. And of course, Odyssey of the Seas, as we know, is actually over in the North Sea getting ready to do her sea trials. If we swing over to Singapore, we already know about Quantum of the Seas, which is obviously offering actually revenue sailings. But in addition to that, Radiance, Ovation, and Voyager of the Seas are all hanging off the coast there and coming in periodically when they need to. And as I mentioned, these locations change. From time to time, a ship moves from island to island or country to country, and we have seen some ships move from region to region for who knows why. Royal Caribbean doesn't say so. We just have to kind of track it on the internet. So what do cruise ships do while there aren't any cruises? Quantum of the Seas is the only Royal Caribbean ship operating right now, but the rest of the fleet is being manned by a skeleton crew while they're waiting to restart cruises. This is referred to as a warm layup, and it means the ship is in operation and ready to quickly resume sailings once they're given the go-ahead to do so. By keeping the ships in warm layup instead of cold layup, they can more quickly get back into service when the time is right. Now, the downside to keeping these ships in warm layup is it costs Royal Caribbean more on a daily basis, but the startup, whenever that occurs, is going to be a lot sooner than if the ship was in cold layup. Most of the time, these ships really do remain in place. Most recently, there were a number of ships that actually departed Europe to come over to the Caribbean. I suspect that's probably related to the weather, summer turning into winter and whatnot. But if you track the cruise ships on the internet, you might see one ship occasionally come into port to receive new supplies and unload waste. In the U.S., Port Miami has been the most commonly used destinations for ships nearby to resupply, although we have seen some ships actually come into Port Canaveral recently. So when will Royal Caribbean cruise ships sail again? Boy, I'm glad somebody finally asked me this question because I haven't gotten this in about, 15 minutes. In the short term, only Quantum is able to sail right now. And of course, Royal Caribbean announced that Odyssey of the Seas will start sailing from Israel in May of 2021. The rest of Royal Caribbean ships are just basically in this state of flux where we're waiting for some word that they'll be able to restart operations. Royal Caribbean is working with the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, aka the CDC, to receive permission to start cruises again. Now, this kind of sounds like bad news because we've heard this, for the last year. But during Royal Caribbean's fourth quarter 2020 earnings call with investors, Royal Caribbean International President and CEO Michael Bailey said that Royal Caribbean has been in regular communication with the CDC and expects to get technical instructions on what each ship needs to do in order to prepare itself for test cruises. Now, test cruises are the big deal. This is what we were all waiting for because it's the opportunity for any cruise line to demonstrate to the CDC that they can operate cruise ships in a safe manner through a variety of new protocols. Now, the reality is no one really knows when cruises will restart, and that means that Royal Caribbean ships will remain idle around the world until the company is ready to start operations again. When they do start cruising again, you should definitely not expect every single ship I just mentioned earlier in this video to just instantly restart operations. Instead, Royal Caribbean is going to go into phases, maybe starting with 1 or 2 ships in the beginning and then adding ships periodically. So while they're going to offer cruises eventually, there's going to be more cancellations even while other ships resume, because again, this phased approach to restart is going to be Royal Caribbean's game plan. And when ships do restart, expect especially the first couple sailings to go on short sailings to private destinations like Perfect Day at Coco Key. As I mentioned earlier, one advantage Royal Caribbean has by keeping all of the ships in the state of warm layup is that when the CDC starts allowing test cruises, there isn't going to need a lot of time for those ships to get back into service. They don't have to turn the engines back on and clean everything up. They're basically ready to go. Obviously, they'll have to get some more crew on board, and there will be some steps required. I don't want to make it seem like they can just instantly start test cruises, but the ramp-up time is significantly less than if the cruise ship was in a state of cold layup, in which it would have been shut down. So good news, bad news kind of situation there. But we're all waiting to see when that might occur. And Royal Caribbean has not announced, by the way, any kind of firm restart plans or even which ships might be the first to do these test sailings. But we're obviously going to keep track of that over at royalcaribbeanblog.com. And let me know in the comments, how about some predictions? Because there's some good stuff happening right now. Which Royal Caribbean ship do you think, other than, of course, Quantum and Odyssey of the Seas, will be the first Royal Caribbean ship to restart operations in the United States? So the first ship to start revenue sailings in the U.S. Let me know in the comments your prediction. And while you're down there below this video, make sure you like this video by hitting the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so that way YouTube lets you know when I have a brand new video to share. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.